Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to jump right into our program today because we have a very full agenda and it's a very good agenda. So we don't want to miss any time. Derek?
Good afternoon. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and for all the friends who are here. On this day when we celebrate teachers, we pray that you be with all the teachers and educators throughout the district and help give them comfort and support, and be with all the students and their families as well. Please continue to bless all of us and all things we do. Amen. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Johnson. I have the honor of introducing our guests today. When I speak your name, please stand and keep standing until all guests have been introduced. And audience, please hold your applause until all of our guests have been introduced. If I do miss a guest, please stand and announce your guest after. We have Mr. Jay Blankenship, guest of Joel Jones, Mr. Philip Snyder, guest of Jan Dyer, and Mr. Lonnie Decker, guest of Rob Rowan. Cassie Shaw, guest of Elizabeth Razor, Jason Boyle, guest of the club, Miss Rosalind Gowns, member of a guest of the club, and Christine Harris, guest of Benny Kreider, and also Dave Brenner, assistant governor. Thank you.
Some news on the front of battling Alzheimer's. During this past week at Massachusetts General, a exercise-induced hormone you actually create it yourself when you exercise, has shown promise on reducing plaque and the pathology in the brain. They did the experiments with mice, but they injected this irisin into the bloodstream and pushed its way into the brain and showed that it is potentially extremely useful as a therapeutic. So they're going to see more of that coming out over the next couple of weeks, but it's one of those proofs that the contribution that you make in that blue bucket is moving the needle in the fight against Alzheimer's. I don't see Ron DeMonet here, but Ron is our cart match for this month. It means I can say just about anything I want about him, but he pays for this, so we got to do this. For most people, everyday life is a little stressful. Ron writes on his website, after years of trying to find a purpose and meaning on the outside world, I now realize the only true purpose and meaning is by looking into myself. It was a great aha moment in my life and led me to life coaching. So Ron's a life coach. I have real world practical experience and draw from that understanding to help others what others are going through. I know the trials and tribulations of everyday life, what a stressful job, what taking care of a family, what paying the bills, being a parent, being a spouse, and being an employer and navigating difficult relationships can do. I know about loss, losing a spouse, losing a job, uprooting and moving to a new area and starting a new life. So what Ron does is it starts off with a one-on-one confidential coaching session that is complimentary. You sit down and move forward to choose what your goals are. And so he does that on an individual level, but he also does corporate coaching. Ron's been very successful at this, and he was very successful in business and is probably better at being able to match a large sum of money than anyone we've had this year. So if you think about it, please put an extra $1 in the cart bucket and appreciate it.
So, education has always been one of the tenements of Rotary, and Rotarians recognized early on that the most important part of education, no matter what program you come up with, what curriculum you come up with, the most important thing is the teacher. And the classroom teacher is the success of a child hinges on the classroom teacher. So we're really honored today to recognize teachers. Our club has been a sponsor the Greenville County Teacher of the Year for over 30 years. No one really knows because I've called and tried to find the history, and everybody's been doing it as long as everyone can remember. It is believed that we started a Teacher of the Year program before the state did. It was just rolled into it. So we're very proud to be continue to be a sponsor of Greenville County Teacher of the Year. And a teacher's job is, I think it's really important that we do recognize teachers because the teacher's job is so challenging. And when I was in school prior to electronic tablets, but after chisel tablets, so it's been a long time. But when I was in school, we were grouped kind of based on ability, and that no longer takes place for a lot of reasons, including stereotyping children and putting them in. But it really creates a huge effort on the teachers to be able to teach all the children. Imagine being a first grade teacher and having students who barely know their ABCs and having other students who read, and you're trying to teach all these kids and bring them up to standards. And then we recently we put a lot of demand on teachers, but looking at test scores and standardized testing and how are your students doing on testing. So there's a lot of pressure there. Most recently, there's been a huge increase in individual education plans for students. And so not only do you have to teach all these different children of different levels, you have to meet their very specific needs. So it's very hard. So I'm very proud today to recognize teachers. Several years ago, when I was doing Teacher of the Year, they said, well, what else can we do? And so we started a program at Alexandria Elementary School. And so we think about teachers and all the efforts that are requirements on teachers. And then when you add in the poverty at a high poverty school, and the teachers having to deal with the children and the things that they're dealing with outside of school, it makes their job really hard. And so that's been part of that was the impetus of our involvement at Alexandria Elementary School, was to support teachers. And some of you Rotarians may say, well, we do so much for those children. We provide school clothes, we provide meals for them to take, box lunches for them to take home. Yeah, we do that because the teachers ask us to, because we found out that the teachers who are already doing all this were taking money out of their pockets to buy food to send home with their children over Thanksgiving and spring break. And so we're like, okay, you do not need to be doing that. So while we're honored to have our Greenville County Teachers of the Year with us today, we're also honored to have our Alexander Elementary School Teacher and Staff Person of the Month, because we can't wait all year to recognize the teachers at Alexander Elementary School. So today, our Teacher of the Month is Rebecca Williams, who is a third grade teacher, and she has been a teacher in education for 6 years. This is her third year at Alexander Elementary School. And our staff member of the month is Juliana Smith, and then she's a second-time winner, so which is very impressive because this is only her second year there, so she obviously does a great job. And she coaches and supports. She's a literacy specialist who coaches and supports the teachers in the best practices in literacy instruction. So congratulations to this too. So in the spirit of celebrating teachers and elevating teachers, today we're going to hear from public education partners. And from those of you who've been in Greenville for a long time, like I have, you might remember it as it started out as the Alliance for Quality Education. And they have a wonderful fundraising event every year that I've gone to for many, many, many years. It's like a wine and food tasting. It's really outstanding. Just a plug for that. It's in April. So make sure you think about that. But one of the three pillars of strategic pillars of public education partners is elevating teachers. Well, that's perfect for today. Engaging communities and empowering advocates. So today we're going to hear from the Executive Director and CEO, Catherine Schumaker. She has been on board with Public Education Partners since 2019. She is a native of Spartanburg. She moved to Greenville in 2005 and launched Schumaker Consulting LLC, a strategic consulting practice with a particular focus on fund development and planning. For 15 years, Catherine worked with nonprofit organizations in the upstate and across the country, focusing on education, social and human services, and art and culture. Prior to her time in Greenville, Catherine served as the Director of Institutional Giving for the Huntington Theater Company and as the first Director of Development for Arts Boston in Boston, Massachusetts. She started her career at Manhattan Theater in New York City after graduating from Harvard University with an honors degree in American History and Literature. Catherine is a board member of the Warehouse Theater, a steering committee member for Greater Good Greenville and the Greater Good Greenville Advocacy Committee, and a Riley Fellow. She is a proud mom of a Greenville High/Fine Arts Center senior and a Greenville High sophomore. And she also serves as chair of the School Improvement Committee for Sterling School, which is also known as the Charlestown Center. So welcome to Catherine Schumaker.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you so much to Rotary for having me today. It is always a joy to share the work of public education partners and particularly to celebrate teachers. So I'm very lucky to consider teachers and administrators from Greenville County Schools not only my colleagues, but my friends. And so any opportunity to talk about the work that we are doing in our public schools here in Greenville at Public Education Partners is a huge honor. You heard I'm not an educator. That is not my background. My background is as a product of South Carolina's public schools. I have 2 boys in the schools, as you heard. So I consider myself a cheerleader and a champion. Just a little bit more. There we go. So today I'm going to give you a quick overview of what Public Education Partners is and what we do, because it ties into the work of our community. We are a community-based organization. That's our sort of our origin story. And you will find that supporting teachers is a bright thread that goes throughout the fabric of our work. So that's primarily what I'm going to focus on today. Public Education Partners. There we go. So we were founded in 1985. So we've been around for almost 40 years. We were created by the business community in Greenville, in particular by those leaders in our community, folks like Hayne Hipp and Max Heller, who looked forward and said, this is what Greenville can be. And in order for Greenville to be, that Greenville, we need the strongest possible public school system. And so we were a public-private partnership before public-private partnerships were the thing. And we're very proud of that. So we really function as connective tissue between the public sector and our public schools here in Greenville County. As you can see, our mission is to lead the community in acting collectively to support, strengthen, and advance public education and student achievement in Greenville County schools. And the way that I say that a lot these days is we function as a kind of an innovation lab for Greenville County schools for the work that is going on in our schools, but then also, and this is critically important right now, as a champion for public education generally, as a champion for the role that public schools play as foundational infrastructure for our civic society. So that is something that we are particularly passionate about. We have 5 core values that serve as the filter through which we make decisions about how we are going to get involved in innovation and how we are going to advocate. So those core values are collaboration, equity, research, continuous learning, and independence. It's important for everyone to understand we're a separate 501c3 from the district. We're closely aligned with Greenville County Schools. We work hand in hand with them. I just came from the committee of the whole meeting of the district trustees. I will probably be going back to that after this lunch is over. But we are an independent organization, which gives us a lot of leeway to act in the space, in the advocacy space, to act in the research space. So we're really proud of that independence as well. We are a small but mighty organization. We have an 8-person team, about $1 million budget. We have a lot of former educators on our staff, which I'm very proud of. We have literacy specialists. We have a former assistant principal. We have former SPED teacher, so special ed teacher. So it's really important for us to have on our staff folks who are coming from the education space to inform our decision-making as well. And that goes for our board as well. We have 18 board members who come from all different sectors. We have folks who are involved in higher ed. We have lots of folks from the business community. And we are 100% privately funded. So we do not receive any public funds, although I won't lie, sometimes we are looking at some state funding for some of our literacy initiatives and other work that we do. But primarily our role is to be privately funded. So individuals, corporations, and foundations. So what is it that we do? What is it that PEP does? We get that a lot. We are kind of an unusual organization. There aren't a lot of organizations like us anywhere in South Carolina. We're really the only organization that functions the way that we do. And we're very lucky to have an organization like PEP in Greenville. As Scott said, we elevate teachers, we empower advocates, and we engage community. So what does that look like? We start with elevating teachers. And what you'll hear is that for us, teachers are always at the center. because, as I've said, there is no single in-school factor that makes a bigger difference to student achievement than having a high-quality teacher in the classroom. So we really think constantly about how can we be thinking about teachers, engaging teachers, and supporting teachers throughout all of our programmatic activities. So what does elevating teachers look like? So this is a great picture from the Teacher of the Year breakfast. So these are our two first class teacher award winners. So these are first year teachers. They finished their first year of teaching in 22-23, and we sponsor an award to celebrate first year teachers. We are particularly focused on the needs of our early career teachers and the mentors that serve them. So you will hear any educator, we were just talking about it at our table, they're all nodding their heads, the importance of mentoring, and that's a theme that I think goes through everything in our community, the importance of mentoring, professional mentoring, mentoring children. Teachers need mentoring too. And so we really focus on how can we ensure that we have strong mentors, and how can we make sure that they are given the tools and resources that they need to support our early career teachers. And for those first year teachers, how can we support them? So we look at professional development, networking opportunities, knowledge sharing. We offer a range of programs. And when we open those up to the community, to the school community, we say sort of to first year teachers, it's first come, they can get in first. They learn about it first. We really try to focus on those teachers in their first 3 years of teaching with a particular focus on the first year teachers. We offer classroom and school-wide teacher retention grants. So we're very proud this week. We're going to announce the winners of our Mullins grants for teacher retention. Some of you may know Greer Mullins, who is the founding executive director of PEP and is one of my mentors and heroes. We have named a grant program in her honor that supports school-wide practices and policies to support teachers and to encourage teacher retention. So we're going to be offering 4 of those at $2,500. Those are going to be announced, I think, this week. We also provide resources, so places for teachers to find information about best practices, connect with each other, share their voice. We've had a teacher blog so that teachers can share positive stories coming out of the classroom. That's something that is also very important to PEP at a time when I think it is safe to say K-12 education is in the hot seat, and there's been a lot of talk about our public schools and what's going on in our public schools. We really want to focus on positive. We want to focus on the good stories, as well as where there are challenges and opportunities for improvement. And top of that is educator appreciation. Everyone in this room, if you know a teacher, thank a teacher, because one of the most important factors that we are hearing when teachers are leaving the classroom is that they feel that the profession is not being appreciated or respected. And so you all are community leaders and you have a role to play in changing that narrative and pushing back against that narrative and encouraging that messaging that teachers are heroes because they are stepping into spaces where they are transforming the lives of children every single day. And without that, we are not going to continue to be the community that we want to be and the community that is growing and supporting and thriving everyone. So to that end, I want to talk a little bit about advocacy. We do sit in that advocacy space. We encourage people to pay attention to what's happening in our public schools at the policy level, both locally and statewide. This is an article from the state newspaper. We were really proud that one of our teacher fellows, and I'll talk about that program in a minute, went and spoke. She provided testimony to the state Ways and Means Committee. I'm talking about how important paid parental leave would be for teachers. Derek Lewis helped shepherd that through as well, but we really were part of a broad statewide coalition that helped pass paid teacher leave for educators last year. Teachers didn't have paid leave until this year. And so we're really proud that we created a space for teachers to talk about what teachers need. So this is a picture of our advocacy agenda. I encourage you to visit our website and you can see sort of what we center and prioritize within our advocacy work. But at the top of the list is our Teacher Fellows Program. And the Teacher Fellows Program is a 6-month paid fellowship for 10 educators to learn about how policy works and to learn how to advocate for themselves and their colleagues effectively. And you know, advocating effectively is not just screaming on social media. And so what we really try to do with our teachers is to say, here are the different sort of levers that are impacting your experience in your school, the experience of your student, the experience in your classroom. And here are ways that you can connect, get to know folks, network, and then leverage your lived experience in the classroom to drive change. And as I said, we were really, really proud of our teacher advocates that we have helped to sort of train and the role that they've played in shaping policy, both at the state level, and we had one of our teacher fellows graduates very eloquently speak at the school board meeting in the spring to advocate in favor of a tax increase to help increase teacher salaries, which is one of the most important investments that we can make in our educators. We have an informedsc.org data center. I'll show you a slide from that next, but it is a data aggregator. So for all of you who are curious about all of the numbers that you hear about public education, and there are a lot of them, we try to make it a little easier to find it and to learn about it and to make it accessible. So that's a really great resource for anyone who has questions about funding, about teacher pay, about all sorts of different issues in public education. We pay attention to what's going on in Columbia. We issue policy recommendations based on what the data and research tell us is most important. We do the same thing locally. We pay attention to what's going on at our school board. We encourage people to pay attention to what's going on at our school board level, to attend meetings. I'm at every school board meeting, which is the fourth Tuesday of every month, and I'm often at the committee of the whole meetings, but I encourage everybody to listen, even if you don't have kids in the schools, because our public schools matter to everybody. As I said, they're critical infrastructure. So tomorrow's employees, tomorrow's employers, they're all in our schools today here in Greenville. Ed Talks are public events where you can learn about different issues in public education. We are very proud to partner with Simple Civics Greenville County. I hope all of you have listened to the Simple Civics podcasts, which are a wealth of information about all different areas of our public sector here in Greenville. I'm going to be interviewing our Teacher of the Year, so pay attention. That's going to drop in November for National Education Week. So I'm looking forward to that conversation with Lindsay soon, but really excited about that sort of place where we can raise awareness of the issues in our schools. And then, as I said, one of the most important things we want to be doing and a message we want to be getting out there is that everybody needs to pay attention to elections as they relate to public education. That has to do with their school board and with our state assembly. We will have fully half of our school board seats, 6. We have a 12-person school board, and we will have half of those seats are going to be on the ballot next year. So every other year when we have elections, it's really important for the future of our district because we need strong, informed leadership on our school board to ensure that we have strong, informed leadership at our district office and leading our schools. This is the informedsc.org website. Would love for y'all to check that out as a resource when you have an opportunity. And then the final sort of pillar, the final leg of the three-legged stool of PEP's work is engaging communities. And today is a perfect example of the kind of the space in which PEP works and the role that we play in demonstrating the way in which schools are connected to everything, to every piece of what is going on here. So when we talk about affordable housing, teacher housing is part of that. Homeless students are part of that. When we talk about transportation, how are people getting to work in our schools? How are our custodians, the facilities crews, how are they getting to work? All of those issues that you all as leaders in the community have been thinking about and trying to address, those touch our schools in really, really direct ways. And so we sit in those spaces as well. Just a handful of the ways in which we talk about engaging communities and the way that that sort of manifests itself. Make Summer Count. Have any of y'all heard of our Make Summer Count summer reading program that aren't our educators? Up, Derek. Yeah, there are a few. Great. So Make Summer Count is a summer literacy program that we started about 10 years ago with a lot of generous support from the community. It is it focuses on preventing the summer slide in reading. So we build home libraries. We allow, with generous support from our funding partners, kids can pick out their own books, take them home for the summer, and then we host family reading nights. Where we model effective literacy strategies and effective reading strategies for parents to help their kids read. So it's a really kind of multi-pronged approach to the challenge of literacy, which is critically important now as well. We work closely with the On Track Greenville program, which is a signature initiative here in Greenville County of the United Way of Greenville County, and a wide range of sort of funding partners. I know the Community Foundation of Greenville is part of it, and it focuses on 6 high-need schools along the White Horse Road corridor. Again, we're going to be doing this year, we're going to be doing a special summit, a learning summit. I encourage you all to follow us on social media. If you're interested in learning more about the issues that are happening in our schools, we're going to be doing a half-day kind of community engagement event for both educators and community members that's going to dive deep into some of the core issues that we're seeing in our schools right now. We also have a partnership with 10 at the Top called Teach at the Top. which is sort of an upstate regional focus on teacher retention. And how are we going to raise awareness of opportunities for employment in the 10 upstate counties? So we have partnered with 10 at the Top to bring Teach at the Top to life. And then, as Scott mentioned, we do host community events where we showcase various topics that are critical to public education. So in the fall, we have a corporate event that's called Partner of the Year. And we will be announcing our 2023 Partner of the Year very soon, and we're very excited about it. But the theme of this year's event is going to be about mentoring and mentor teachers and first-year teachers and that relationship and how important it is for the community to invest in and support that relationship. And then in the spring, in April, we will have an extracurricular evening, which is our fun sort of individual donor fundraiser. So again, something that you can keep an eye out for it coming up in April. This is, as I mentioned, the Teach at the Top website, and it was a collaborative national marketing campaign as well. We were really excited to get coverage in the Post and Courier that got picked up by the AP, and then it was in U.S. News and World Report. And it was another example of, in this community, in the upstate and Greenville in particular, when we do partnerships well, it really is a model for the way to do things well in other places. And so I really challenge you all to continue to think about how can you support schools. It's so wonderful to hear about the support from one of our favorite schools coming out of Rotary. But that sort of connectivity between the community and our schools is so, so critically important. You can follow us on social media on all your favorite platforms. We have a really robust social media presence. And so you can keep an eye on what we do, where we're doing it, who we're partnering with, what we're focused on, issues that we're concerned about, meetings. We always try to do advocacy alerts to let folks know when they should be attending a board meeting or something like that. But we're at PEP Greenville on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all the other places. Thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about our work. I feel very honored to lead Public Education Partners. I joined PEP in the fall. I started in November of 2019, so I had about 30 seconds before COVID hit, and everything went a little crazy. And I was, a first-time nonprofit CEO, and it's been a wild ride. But there's so much opportunity. There's so much good happening in Greenville County Schools. Greenville County Schools is going through strategic planning right now. Greenville County Schools is the largest school district by far in the state of South Carolina. I think it's the 46th largest in the country. So if we as a community can come together to support Greenville County Schools, we really can shine effectively as a model for what other communities, both statewide but also nationally, can do and can do well. So it's a real privilege to lead PEP. It's a privilege to have the opportunity to talk about Greenville County Schools and talk about our work to support them in a group like this. So thank you so much for the opportunity to do so. And I look forward to answering any questions that you might have or anything else. Does questions, is that a thing? Do we do questions? I see someone raising their hand, so I would guess maybe yes, depending on time. I want to be thoughtful of time because I was given a strict parameter on time. As I said, so I will, I encourage everyone to, as I said, pay attention and do not take for granted the fact that just because you are not hearing about it, that there are not challenges that are coming every day and facing our educators, both in classrooms and our school district. So the way that we ensure that we have strong leadership is we pay attention during elections, you listen. And one of the things, PEP, we don't endorse candidates. But what we do is we provide an opportunity for all candidates to share their views in a questionnaire. We will be doing those Simple Civic podcasts again. Get to know who your school board member is and pay attention to who they are listening to and what kinds of things they are endorsing. Build a relationship with them. I have a very good relationship with my school board member, and obviously I work with all the school board members, but I think no one in Greenville should take for granted the excellence of our school district and the quality of both educator and leadership that requires, if that is a helpful answer. Right. It will take from my perspective. So the question is, the challenge of teachers spending money out of their own pocket in their classrooms. So the research shows that most teachers spend about $400 and something out of their own pocket. I will say there's been some small progress on that front. Here in South Carolina, they increased the amount that teachers get this year by a little bit. I think that question of full funding is not something that we are going to have the political will, honestly, to see nor the financial capacity to do in a state like South Carolina. And so I think that is where the role of that public-private partnership piece comes into play. At PEP, for example, we focus our grant making on schools that don't have a PTA. I think a lot of you might not be aware, not every school in Greenville County has a PTA. Not every school in Greenville County has a PTA that can raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, which some of them do. And so I think for us, where are the places that you can fill in the gaps and support those teachers with either direct support and you know, every bit that we can do locally, thinking about from a local raising salaries. That was a difficult, you know, our board members do not like to raise taxes locally. And when you come into a position, for example, the paid teacher leave that I mentioned, which is, we're super excited about, yay, paid teacher leave, but the state assembly didn't give any money to help districts pay for that. So that had to be incorporated in our local schools budget. So there's an advocacy piece to all of that. And I like to push back against the narrative of failing South Carolina public schools because I'm a product of South Carolina public schools. And I think that if we continue to talk about that too much, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So to your point, I think what we can do is continue to find places where we can move the needle, where we can make progress, where we can support teacher pay, and support school board members who support those choices.
Thanks, Catherine, for you and all the public education partner does. So now we're on to our Teacher of the Year program. And for those of you who don't know, each school, every year they select a teacher to represent them. Those teachers fill out a very in-depth application that's based on this state Teacher of the Year application. The top 10 are selected based on application. Judges read them. Every school names are all blacked out. You have no idea who they are. And then that's how we select the top 10. And then there are classroom visits, and they visit the teacher in the classroom, and they typically know, like within a week, somebody's going to drop by, but they don't know what period or exactly when they're going to come by. And so you drop in the classroom and you observe them in action. And that is really the most telling part right there is being able to observe them. And then there are personal interviews, and because the Teacher of the Year is representing all the teachers in Greenville County schools. So we're really excited today to have our winner and our 3 runners-up with us. And I think you'll understand that these men and women represent the best of the best. So we're going to start today and share you a little bit about our 3rd runner-up.
I am Isaac West, and I teach 5th grade at Hollis Academy.
Find 5-2 on your geo board. Find 5-2.
Every day that they come into our room, we're learning something new. We're doing something new.
3, 4, 5. So your 5 is at the crosshair. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your crosshairs is right there.
Waking up every day, it's not hard to do what I do because I love doing it. It's a calling. It's something that's in me.
I want you to walk on the line.
I know that my students, they like to be kinesthetic. They like to move.
1, 2, 3, 4.
They learn best by doing. I love to see when the light bulb goes off and they just get it. And it's because of something that I may have said or done. I want them to figure some things out for themselves. So every year that my students walk into my room, I'm setting the atmosphere that we're going to be doing some exploration in our room.
Everything is in a nice straight line.
Having the opportunity to bring myself in to the classroom every day and just use my strengths and abilities to see kids learn. That's the kind of thing that makes me want to come back and give it my all.
I had the honor and privilege of working with our former superintendent, Penny Fisher, and Tom Rowe, who wrote the curriculum, and Ansel Sanders on A.J. Wittenberg Elementary School. And when that is for those of you who don't know, A.J. Wittenberg is right over here on the Reedy River. And it was the first engineering-focused elementary school in the state of South Carolina and one of the first regionally. And when it opened, everybody was wanting to come and see the school and take tours. And so I would go and took lots of groups on tours. I remember walking in one day with a group into Isaac's classroom. He taught there. And the kids, they had little dolls attached to parachutes, and they would drop them and nothing's happening. And so he was talking about, why is it not doing? And so they said, well, hot air. Somebody said, we need hot air. And so he pulled out a hairdryer, and you blow a hairdryer up, and they dropped them. And finally, somebody said, Scott, you have to get back to work. I was like, I could just stay here all day and listen to this man teach these kids. And we would go and take a lot of tours after school, and he was always the last teacher there. And so I was not surprised at all to see him as a top 10 teacher of the year. Congratulations, Isaac, well deserved. And on behalf of the Rotary Club, we offer you this cash prize. Yes,
I'm Erin Wilson, and I teach music at Bells Crossing Elementary School. This is my 6th year at Bells Crossing. I grew up loving music from a very young age. My mom used to tell me that music made me tick, and I started band in middle school, and that is when I knew I wanted to be a music teacher. Shake, shake. Wait, say it again. My favorite part of teaching is my students. When the students hear it come together, it's just joy that lights up on their face.
The smelly old rhinoceros made his appearance. Hi, lunch. Hi, lunch.
We go on adventures every day in my classroom. When we're playing music from different cultures, we're visiting those cultures when we're performing their music.
They travel to the plains of Kenya and Tanzania.
When I tell a story and we're adding music to it, wherever the story is set in, that's where our adventure begins.
So, Erin, thank you for giving all those adventures to our children. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing at Bells Crossing. And on behalf of the Rotary Club, we offer you this cash prize.
My name is Crystal Chappell. I teach 4th grade at Monteview Elementary.
When we are working with decimals, we need to make that connection with money.
I've been at Monteview Elementary for 6 years. I love working with all of the families at Monteview. The kids are very eager to learn.
Ones go with ones, tens with tens.
And the parents are so supportive, as well as my colleagues. We're like one big family there.
10 cents has a value of 10 cents.
What really drives me is my students. Just knowing that they need someone who helps them feel loved and seen and supports them not just in their education, but in their passions and their dreams.
Let's start with 12.
My kids are definitely the whole reason I'm there.
Hundreds with hundreds, thousands with thousands.
I love them. I appreciate them. They drive me to become a better person as well as a better teacher.
So we chose to partner with Alexander Elementary School because at the time they were the highest poverty elementary school in Greenville. But let me tell you, the difference between this bottom few is negligible. And Monteview is kind of a sister school in a way to Alexander Elementary School. So not only Erin, does Crystal have the hard job of being an educator, she also has to deal with a lot of those social and family issues that come with in a high poverty school. So Crystal, we really thank you for all that you do. Thank you.
I'm Lindsay Zika. I teach ESOL at Greenville Senior High Academy.
As Greenville is, oh, you got it all planned out?
This is my 4th year at Greenville High. My job, first and foremost, is to teach my students English language acquisition
At the hardware store.
so that they have the language skills they need to succeed in college, in the workforce, and in life. Supporting them as they come to Greenville High, I think it's important that they're really integrated into the community. I get up every day and do what I do because of the connections I'm able to make. I feel so fortunate to have a job where I connect to students from all over the world and I get to experience their stories and their strengths. I think when you let students choose and have some degree of control over their own learning.
Use that sentence.
They always take it even much further than I ever could have expected. And it's just amazing to see each student brings their own unique strengths and talents to our school.
So we invite Lindsay to come up and actually speak to us for a few minutes about her thoughts about education and Teacher of the Year.
Thank you. I'm so grateful and honored to be here today among so many people, all of you Rotarians, my fellow educators, who have made such a demonstrated commitment to service and community. My educational journey has taken me from Belize to France, the UK, Mexico, and the Dominican Republic. But no matter where I was, one thing was clear. Community connection is essential to successful teaching. So this year, my theme has been connecting and building bridges. All bridges need a strong foundation, and in Greenville County, we are lucky to be supported by Dr. Royster, the district leadership. As teachers, we know that everything comes down to connections. We build bridges to families because we know that a solid school-family partnership is vital to student success. We strive to bridge our daily lessons to our students' goals and dreams, so they see how education will lay the foundation for a bright future. And just like you all are the leaders of today, as teachers, we look to build the leaders of tomorrow. My colleagues here today come from elementary school settings, and they're doing incredible work to construct the foundational skills that students need as they begin their academic journeys. As a high school teacher, I'm tasked with supporting students as they complete their journey in Greenville County schools and move on to become productive members of society. In my role specifically as a multilingual learner program teacher, I work to build connections with students and families from all over the world. South Carolina ranks in the top 3 states for growth in the multilingual learner student population. And a lot of that growth is happening right here in Greenville County. So while most multilingual learners were actually born in the US, my passion is working with newcomers. My students are refugees from places like Syria, Uganda, Zambia. They've been airlifted out of Afghanistan and escaped poverty in Central America. They come here eager to build their own bridges to a brighter future. My job is to integrate these people into the community, not only by teaching them English, but by connecting them to role models and the opportunities available to them. I'm proud that in South Carolina, we're working to focus on all the benefits that these students have to offer. We are one of 3 states to use the inclusive assets-based terminology, multilingual learner, instead of just English learner. The idea being that these kids are so much more than the students who can't speak English yet. And I really feel this. When I walk down the hallways at Greenville High, teachers can't wait to tell me things like, Alison won Student of the Month in the Freshman Academy, or Josue made the wrestling team, and he's such a hard worker. Or Henry, after only 4 months in the country, won grand prize in a creative writing contest. So these are just some examples of the things we can achieve when we focus on what students can do and build bridges among teachers, families, and the community. After 18 years of teaching, I still just get so excited when I think about what we can achieve when we have these strong connections. And I thank you all for what you do to support us in this work and to help foster these connections. For example, your career day helps to provide students like ours with role models that connect them to their future roles in the community. Your Service Above Self scholarship builds a bridge for students to higher education. And through this incredibly generous Teacher of the Year award, you build bridges to support and retain teachers. So in closing, I thank you all for all you do to support teachers, students, and the greater Greenville community. I look forward to keeping our ties strong so that together we can continue to build future leaders. Thank you so much.
What an impressive group of teachers we have with us today. To close out, though, we're going to talk about impressive teachers. You just heard from Greenville County Teacher of the Year, but to close out for us today, we're going to have a former South Carolina Teacher of the Year. Kelly Nally is here to give us a few words on behalf of Greenville County Schools. Kelly, has been a judge on how many years, but she and I were like, we were co-judges for like 4 years in a row. And it was always great. We read these applications and it's really hard to distinguish between an elementary school first grade teacher and a high school math teacher and try to compare which one like the better application. And so we would, when we get together, sometimes Kelly and I, our scores would align. And it was amazing how in tune we were. And it was such a comforting fact to know that I was actually doing something right. And I had somebody smart beside me to confirm it. So at this time, let's welcome Kelly Nally to the podium.
Scott makes me laugh because I always thought the same thing. Like if I went in and Scott's looked like mine, I was like, I'm doing something well. So a lot of what I had prepared to say has already been said by Catherine and Scott and the teachers of the year, either through their video or through Lindsay's words. So I just wanted to start off and first express that Dr. Royster, since his deepest regrets for not being able to be here, he was explicit in making sure that I shared that with you. He is at our regularly scheduled committee of the whole meeting with our board of trustees. Otherwise, he would be here. And so I really appreciate his trust to speak on his behalf. And I know many of you know him well and personally. You may go out to the golf course with him or to a Clemson game. So when you see him next, be sure and tell him that I did an excellent, insightful, and brief job. So I want to start just by specifically speaking to the Rotarians, all the Rotarians that are in the room, and let you know that on behalf of Dr. Royster and all of the senior leadership in Greenville County Schools, that we are sincerely appreciative for the Rotary's continued partnership and support of the Teacher of the Year program. Everything that we do is done so much better in partnership with the community. And Rotarians are a vital part of not just the Greenville community, but also Greenville County Schools. So we are sincerely appreciative of how you honor our teachers and how you recognize their excellence. So our communications director, Whitney Hanna, just asked me to share a little bit about the Teacher of the Year's journey past the initial recognition phase. So Lindsay is about to embark on a state journey that will take her in and out of different areas of the state. She'll be able to interact with each Teacher of the Year from all of the districts. I don't think I can recall the number because I feel like it changes every time a district consolidates. But I will say you have significantly more competition in Greenville County Schools than you do at the state level. There are fewer districts in the state than there are schools in Greenville County. So she'll be interacting with them. She'll be participating in workshops. She'll go to a state convention for 3 days. She'll hear from policy makers. She'll hear from our state superintendent of education, different nonprofits around the state, and she'll just have a lot of opportunities. So in Greenville County, we try to mimic that experience for our school teachers of the year through an organization called the Greenville County Schools Teacher Forum. So in 1985, South Carolina had a state teacher of the year who went on to be the national teacher of the year. Her name was Terry Dozier. She was from the Columbia area, and she brought the National Organization Teacher Forum back to South Carolina. And what the Teacher Forum does is it provides a place for teacher voice to be involved in decision-making, advocacy, which Catherine talked a great deal about in the role of PEP, and leadership at the state and the local level. So as the state teacher of the year, I was fortunate to actually lead the state teacher forum. And now in my current role, I'm a program coordinator at the district office now for our advanced academic programs. And in that role, I serve as our staff liaison for the teacher forum. And what our teachers have the opportunity to do over the next year via teacher forum is to participate regularly in workshops with district and community leaders. Catherine is an ever-present person. Public Education Partners is ever present at our meetings, helping to support our teachers in the areas of advocacy and leadership. And then our senior leadership, which includes Dr. Royster, our area superintendents, our academic superintendents, HR, finance,
everybody that's involved in that upper level of making this huge school district work, they actually come to our meetings and consult our teachers so that they can get a feel for the pulse of what's going on in the classroom. They don't want to make decisions that are absent of the teacher voice, and so they make sure they're present. And when I say that Dr. Roycer, he'll get down in the trenches and have some really great discussions with our teachers, and he'll give them the devil's advocate side, but then he'll really listen when something needs to come into play to make a change in the district. So our teachers have been instrumental in showing up to board meetings, networking with our board members, going out into the community, advocating for changes to how to engage students in the classroom. We've mentioned teacher raises, we've mentioned working conditions, and their voices have been instrumental in some of those changes. Most teachers of the year walk into their very first teacher forum meeting. They've never heard of it. They have no idea what it is. But when they walk out at the end of that year, they have a deeper understanding of the processes, the procedures, and the policies that affect the whole big system of public education. And many of them, Catherine actually referenced one of them when she was talking about the former fellow for PEP who spoke at our board meeting. Many of them continue advocating for the profession for our students long after their year as Teacher of the Year. So Catherine also mentioned that multiple research studies show that teacher quality is the absolute #1 factor affecting student achievement in education. And teacher quality comes from preparation, training, professionalism, content knowledge. Quality teachers just don't happen. They're built and they're improved upon every year. So we're very, very thankful as Greenville County Schools for community leadership from groups like Rotary, from groups like Public Education Partners that provide not only recognition for our outstanding teachers, but also continued support in developing quality teachers. So hopefully as you listened to the videos of our 3 runners-up and to Ms. Zika's words and to Catherine's presentation, you can see how vital education is to our community and how vital it is to have community investment in our teachers. So again, I just would like to restate that everything is done better when it's done in community. Teacher of the Year is an example, that community partnership, and we're very, very thankful as Greenville County Schools for Rotary's longstanding partnership in supporting our teachers, and I just really appreciate you taking the time out of your work schedule to come and honor these teachers with us. Thank you so much. Thanks, Scott.
Okay, thank you, Kelly, for that update. And thank you to the Alexander Elementary School staff and teacher of the month for joining us today. And of course, all of our wonderful teachers here that I had the pleasure of sitting with. Please make a note on your upcoming events. You have Health and Happiness at California Dreaming on the 18th. Coffee and Conversation at Methodical off Wade Hampton. Happy Feet. You can read about that. That's at the shoe department on the 23rd, where we provide shoes for the children at Alexander Elementary School. And don't forget, you have to sign up for level 1 clearance to participate for events at Alexander Elementary. I think we've seen a few links of those in the emails. If not, ask Jenny. And Catherine, I don't know if I thanked you because I didn't hold up the book. So thank you also for speaking and letting us know about Public Education Partners. And this is the book that Catherine signed that we'll be taking to the Alexander Elementary School Library, Shea Bob. And that's it. If you all please stand now as we go over our 4-way test, which is over, and on up top. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.